I envisioned the type of man I wanted. I prayed for the type of man I wanted, and I got pretty much that. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But, you know, he has a lot of the qualities. He has a lot of the qualities that that I love, and we're having a really good time, and I'm enjoying life. So there is hope, women.
So it looks like Richard Lawson and Tina Knowles' divorce may not be as peaceful as we thought it was, because a few days after their divorce was finalized, sources close to Richard Lawson are reporting that Tina Knowles was the reason for the divorce, as she was not as good as the media portrays herself to. Adding to the unexpected news of Tina Knowles being the reason for the divorce, as Mathew Knowles has openly thrown his support behind Richard Lawson, as he describes Tina Knowles as toxic and as fake as they come. For those that might not have been following this story, grab a seat and let me fill you in. So last year, the internet was stunned when news broke that Richard and Tina were heading for divorce because their relationship was close to perfect. A few days ago, their divorce was finalized, and it was revealed that the divorce had a non-disparagement clause that prohibits either from speaking negatively about each other's children, their spouses, and grandchildren, and also the pair agreed not to receive spousal support. Now, on paper, the divorce looked peaceful and mutual, but then, a few days after the divorce was finalized, sources close to Richard Lawson reported that the divorce only looked good in the media, but behind the scenes, it was as messy as they come, as the source is claiming Tina was the reason the marriage failed. Now, after the source revealed that the breakup was messy, fans did what they do best. They began digging into their relationships to find some irregularities, and girl, there were a lot of inconsistencies in their stories. Now, there was this interview that the couple granted 5 years ago that showed things were not as cool as they seemed, and in the interview, Tina seemingly disrespects Richard, and from his facial expression, you could tell he's saying, "Are you really doing this here?"
I envisioned the type of man I wanted. I prayed for the type of man I wanted, and I got pretty much that. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But, you know, he has a lot of the qualities. He has a lot of the qualities that that I love, and we're having a really good time, and I'm enjoying life. So there is hope, women.
While we may all agree she may have used better words at that moment, things happen, and while she may have used the wrong words at that moment, she had the opportunity to make amends, and she made things worse. After getting backlash for the interview, she took to her Instagram and posted this quote. It reads, "I am careful not to confuse excellence with perfection. Excellence I can reach for. Perfection is God's business." She captioned the post, "Came across this quote this morning. I could not agree more with Michael J. Fox. I believe any human being who thinks that they are perfect or someone else could be perfect is delusional. I believe that only God is perfect. What about you?" Now, it was either their relationship was not as peaceful as we think, or Tina never rated Richard. Also, while fans were digging into any clues they could find, they found inconsistencies in their relationship story. Firstly, Richard and Tina revealed they were friends for over 30 years, and during those 30 years of friendship, they had no intimate relationship. So here's the thing. Tina's former marriage to Mathew Knowles was as good as a mess, and it was on account that Mathew Knowles was a serial cheater who couldn't stop slinging it around. So while pregnant with Beyonce, Tina visited her BFF Gwen, and while she was there, she met Gwen's older brother, Richard Lawson. Those who knew them back in the day revealed it was love at first sight, and since Mathew was cheating on her, she found solace with Richard.
We became friends and hung out, and I supported her because she was going through a tough time with the divorce and the remarriage of her previous husband. And we just took our time, we became friends, we hung out, we traveled, and little by little, you know, all the things that were naturally connective, the connective tissue with us happened in a beautiful.
Mind you, Richard was also married with a daughter then, but he was deeply in love with Tina and careless. Well, Tina never denied meeting Richard at Gwen's place, but she was dishonest about what went down between her and Richard, because David Brewer, who was Beyonce's vocal coach, had a different account of what went down. According to David Brewer, Richard and Tina were more than just friends, as they were already smashing, and Mathew cheating on her at every opportunity he got made it easier for her to let her guard down for Richard. Also, David Brewer revealed that Mathew was also into illegal substances. In his book, he wrote, "Turns out he had escalated to stronger drugs and even stranger behaviors. Rumor had it that cocaine had long since stopped satisfying his thirst and had turned to crack cocaine. I soon discovered that, although unhappily married, Celestine was not suffering all by herself. Going over to the main house to retrieve my keyboard one afternoon, I happened upon Celestine kissing a man. I recognized him immediately, Richard Lawson, a famous actor. The startled Celestine had no choice but to introduce me. Talk about awkwardness. She was supposed to be at her salon. I extended my hand to Richard, telling him how much I admired his work. He nodded. 'It's a pleasure,' he said. After letting him out of the house, Celestine turned. 'Richard is my cousin,' she said. 'He's on that stuff.' Now, Tina didn't break up with Mathew because he did nose candy and cheated on her. The deal breaker was when she found out he had 2 kids outside the marriage. After her divorce, Richard and Tina began dating officially, and according to Richard, he wanted to marry Tina, but knew he stood no chance if he didn't get the approval of her daughters. He said, 'I called her children, and I asked for her hand in marriage from them. I thought that was important because I knew, without that, based upon the fact that Tina lives for her children, that it didn't stand a chance unless they were on board. I was fortunate enough that they were completely on board and just over the top excited about it.' So in the divorce proceeding, Tina was awarded the right to keep her Los Angeles property and separate property in Texas, as well as all furniture, furnishings, appliances, artwork, and personal effects at both locations. She also gets all earnings acquired since their date of separation and creative works generated during their time together. The judge also orders her to keep a 2018 Tesla, a 2020 Bentley, the Matriarch book deal with Penguin Random House, and a 1% interest in Kirby Beauty Management LLC. Lawson was also awarded a 2021 Cadillac Escalade, the right to all earnings acquired since their date of separation, funds acquired by Richard Lawson Studios Inc., his SAG pension plan, royalties, creative works made during their union, and personal belongings, including clothing and jewelry. According to the documents, the ex-couple also agreed to a non-disparagement agreement in which they acknowledged their intent to resolve all issues in their dissolution amicably by agreeing to agree on any statements made about their divorce mutually, and will not speak ill about their children, grandchildren, and their spouses. Now, this is where things get interesting. A few days after their divorce was finalized, sources close to Richard revealed the divorce was not as peaceful as Richard and Tina kept all the mess away from the media because they didn't want Beyonce and Solange into their mess. The source revealed that Tina was the reason they separated, as she was not as good as she portrays herself or the media portrays her. According to the source, Tina disrespects Richard at every opportunity she gets, and Richard initiated the separation, but Tina beat him to filing for divorce. While fans were trying to wrap their heads around the whole Richard and Tina story, Mathew Knowles, who happens to be Beyonce and Solange's father, has thrown her support behind Richard, claiming Tina was faking it for the camera as she was as toxic as it gets. According to Mathew, while he was not the perfect husband, Tina did unspeakable things to him, and he allegedly claims he not being able to put up with her attitude was what pushed him to nose candy, and whatever the media paints her to be, she's way worse. Damn. Mathew Knowles revealing Tina Knowles was fake and toxic had fans talking and left comments saying, "I know you can't judge a book by its cover, but she looks mean and witchy. She was disrespectful, and Richard Lawson is better off without her. She just looks evil to me." I believe him. I think Tina had a broken heart for Mathew, the one who cheated and disrespected her. Once she married Richard, her heart was broken and stone cold. She treated Richard how she wished she could have done Mathew. Richard run. So do you think Tina Knowles was fake and toxic as claimed by Richard Lawson and Mathew Knowles, or do you think there's more to this story than what is being reported? Let me know what you think in the comments, then check out this next story.